Oh, that's a beautiful sound. Cheers, Yobes. It is happy hour. It is presented by Deschutes. He's Yogi Roth. I'm Ashley Adamson. We're back for more. I don't know how this happened, but is it week 9? Is that right?
How on this green earth is it week 9? I'm sad. I know you're probably in that transition to basketball or something like that, and
Getting
I
close.
don't
No,
know.
I'm all in, baby. But week 9, I don't know. I don't know where the time is going, but I think truly, and we've got so much to talk about, so I won't waste time on this. But I do think every now and then it's important to step back. We've already played 2 more games this season than any of our teams got to play total last season. So it has been just an awesome season to be back and be back on the road. And I'm thankful for all of it. So week 9, buckle up. We had a lot of drama this weekend.
Yeah,
Not
we did.
one Yogi, but 2 teams from the state of Oregon started their games down 14-0 and came back to win. So let's start with, I'd certainly say the biggest game of the week, and that was the one at the Rose Bowl. Ducks Bruins, that game was probably as wild as Bill Walton's game day appearance on campus that morning, which I think is still just wrapping up. um, a lot to break down from that game, but just your overall thoughts on the Ducks being able to come back and get that win at the Rose Bowl.
What a game, right? I went back and watched it again yesterday, and I loved every element of it, right? You referenced the Bruins jumping out on top, and you're thinking, "Whoa, is Chip Kelly gonna, is it gonna be a route against like his former team with the visor on? Like there's a narrative there, and here come the Bruins, right? And then the comeback for Anthony Brown to me in that third quarter. I went back and watched that again a few times. This is a guy that got booed by his home crowd. This guy who's been through a lot in his career. The expectations at quarterback there since Marcus Mariota have been be Marcus Mariota, and it's hard. And he answered the bell. And he has all year long when he's had to, right? In big moments, he's met them. And then here come the Bruins all the way back. Dorian leaves the game. Kayvon takes over the game. They finish it on defense. I mean, this is a team with 6 fourth quarter turnovers, actually, when we're talking about Oregon. So overall, big picture, I love the game. I love the contest. I think it set up Oregon back on a national stage. To me, I think our friend Nicole Auerbach has them ranked 4. And I think when you look at their body of work and comp everybody else's body of work, which has not been great in terms of teams ranked ahead of them, it hasn't been consistent either. I agree with her. I'll be curious to see if they can take care of business this weekend, where they net out in the playoff next week.
I know the AP poll isn't going to matter very soon, as you mentioned. Once the CFP poll comes out, the AP poll becomes kind of obsolete. But can you explain to me why Ohio State is still ranked ahead of Oregon?
How many of these can I have? No, I don't know. I mean, look, we know exactly why. It's not because they barely beat Tulsa or beat Akron or Indiana or Maryland. It's a historical element. Why is Oregon State not ranked? But who would in the AP, would you take UTSA over Oregon State? Be honest, right? Would you take Coastal Carolina? Would you take some of the teams that are solid and impressive, but when you look at the number 1 scoring team in the conference, number 1 rushing offense in the conference in the Beavs, like to your point, the AP poll is fun. It's exciting. We could talk about it. Our league started the season with I think 6 ranked teams. Clearly, there's only 1 now, so it's not the greatest of narratives for the Pac-12. So you have to own that, but you also have to own that the context of that, and that's why I look forward to presenting to the committee later this week with our respective team, and then seeing what happens over the weekend and where the Ducks net out, right? And if Ohio State is higher than Oregon, they're going to clearly say that they don't value head to head. So we'll find out. I look forward to that, and then let the arguments and again more Deschutes
And all the
commence.
Deschutes. We're going to need a lot of squeezy riders.
Hey, we'll go right to Bend, Oregon. Maybe we'll just do our show from the headquarters.
All right. So Oregon, as you mentioned, they've got, what we think is everything that they want still in front of them, certainly. And they've got Colorado this weekend. You look ahead to the season finale, and, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but that Beavs Ducks at Autzen for what could be the de facto North Championship, because right now both of those teams are tied for first in the North. As we mentioned off the top, the Beavers also had to overcome a 2-touchdown deficit to get the win. Really fun game between Oregon State and Utah that you got to call on Saturday, and we got to be there for our road show. The block punt, I think, by Luke Musgrave was probably the turning point. That was gave the Beavs their first lead, but just so much happened in that game, and it was back and forth, and it was so fun. And then the crowd rushed the field. That had everything that you want in a college football Saturday matchup.
Yeah, as you started off the top of this happy hour, you referenced like we've had, a few more games now than we had all last season. And I can't help but have thought of that, calling that game and seeing students rush the field and jump behind your set as you were down there with Nick and Coach Aliotti. It was beautiful to be back. And I look at the state of Oregon right now, both programs leaned on their culture, right? Whether it's going through injuries in real time like the Ducks have all year, and then you reference Oregon State, 14-0 you're down in the biggest game of Jonathan Smith's tenure, in my eyes. I think it was the Oregonian had this as one of the top 10 games this decade for Oregon State. And you look at what was at stake. It was a championship environment. And they played a team that's been to 2 Pac-12 championships. And they didn't try to throw it around. They didn't try to, just abandon their identity. In fact, they doubled down, Ash, on their identity. Run the ball, lean on that defensive front, bust a couple from BJ Baylor, create some explosive plays in the play action, check it down to Trey Lowe on third down. And then Avery Roberts, of course, they gave up a lot of yards, but the adjustments in the second half to spy Cam Rising and then get the spark with the punt block, as you referenced, and then handle blocking another punt, but having 2 guys with the same number on the field and not be deflated. It's said that this is a strong culture. And I think that's going to be a big point that we make with the committee is it's easy to adjust. It's easier to adjust when something happens Saturday and you've got a week to prepare, right? Utah doesn't have Devin Lloyd for the first half. They'll deal with that just fine. But when it happens in game, or it happens like in a critical moment when Kayvon Thibodeau leaves last drive of Stanford game, or in Oregon State when they find adversity that they haven't had in a championship environment and they deal with it, like that to me is where I say, okay, here we go. What's going to happen that final week of the season?
Well, and you talk about, teams, we always say that old adage of teams take on the personality of their head coach. And I think this Oregon State program, kind of epitomizes Jonathan Smith. He's never too high. He's never too low. And yet he's got some juice. I think there were some replays, I think, that you guys showed of I think it was that second 4th down stop at the goal line. And that was good. That reminded me of David Shaw, what we saw with the block punt a couple last year in the big game. So yeah, competitive fire, and just it starts certainly with the coaching staff and the program that the culture that they've been able to build there has been fun to watch. So we get to see them again this weekend. They're heading to Berkeley. And how about this? If they win, and they've got bigger aspirations than just bowl eligibility, but they haven't been bowl eligible since 2013. If they beat the Bears, they will be bowl eligible in October for just the 4th time in program history. So 2000, 2012, and 2013 were the only other years in program history that they became bowl eligible in the month of October. So, I mean, again, you just talk about the trajectory and where this team is headed. It's significant. Bears obviously have a shot of confidence, though, Yogs, from being able to get their first Pac-12 win over the Buffs.
Yeah, I love this game. We're calling it. We'll be back together again with the pregame show, together postgame, and of course, Ted and I will do the game. I think there's a couple things when I think about this one specifically. Number one, we meet with players every week, and last week we met with Tegan Quatoriano, a tight end for Oregon State, and I said, "Hey, what is a bowl? Is it the ceiling or the floor?" And he looks at me dead in the eye, and this is a big dude, and he goes, "The basement. It's the absolute basement for us." So here they are. A huge milestone would be if they could find bowl eligibility, as you just referenced. But this team has their sights set on something bigger. We called their game when they went on the road to Wazoo and lost. And in my opinion, got a little bit away from some of their identity that when they went for a fake punt. I think they wish they could have had that one back in hindsight. If they score on that drive, maybe that's the game. So this is going to be them running the ball. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be BJ Baylor against a defense that has made some changes since the bye week. Looking forward to seeing what they do now. They obviously put it on Colorado. Colorado has struggled on offense. How do they handle the Beefs? And then offensively, actually, they played, I counted last night, 7 tight ends, the Bears, in Bill Musgrave's offense last week, including a wide receiver lined up at tight end with his hand in the dirt. So I'm curious, like, what other adjustments do they have? And for Oregon State, they just faced a team that played 3 tight ends on the majority of snaps, or at least 2 tight ends. So I think there's going to be some carryover in this game, and I expect it to be another classic. Got to deal with the QB run game. Chase Garber's the all-time leading rusher now in Cal history. Cal does not believe their record is who they are. I hope it's a fun crowd. It's going to be Halloween. Who doesn't want to go to Berkeley for Halloween? So I really think we have another game that'll come down to the final two drives.
Yeah, we're excited to call it and have it be on the Pac-12 network. Kickoff at 4:00. I'm going to give out my Squeezy Rider Player of the Week award to Jack Coletto, who was we met with him. You mentioned meeting with players. We met with him on Friday. He said that if we win, they're going to rush the field. And then we said, okay, well, you'll come on the post-game show after you score a touchdown. He said, okay, so speaks that into existence. And then he said he wanted to host the post-game show. And I think he did a pretty good job of asking some good, tough questions and taking us to break. A few things maybe to clean up from a broadcasting standpoint. But that guy, he is effortlessly West Coast, that performance was. So we'll see who the real hammer is moving forward. I guess that's another TBD as well. Him or Nate Landman.
Yeah, we'll have that in 2 weeks again with the Nate Landman versus Jack Coletto. My Squeezy Rider performer of the week, Ash. I've gone back and forth on this. Like you nailed it. Coletto definitely deserves a few Squeezy Riders, and hopefully he might have had some. My mind instantly goes to Kenny Pickett, who's not in our league, so he won't win this award. But post game, he told Molly McGrath, I believe, I'm gonna go have a cold one and then get ready for Miami. So he's changed like post game interviews forever. Like I'm curious how many players maybe they'll plug like, hey, I'm gonna have a Deschutes and then get ready for Colorado. Maybe Jack Coletto will say that after the game this week, and we'll see with NIL. But I'm gonna go with Luke Musgrave. This is a guy, and not just because we called the game, but he has had huge expectations since he signed at Oregon State. Hadn't scored a touchdown until he did on blocking a punt, recovering a punt, returning the punt for a touchdown. But when you talk to him or watch his post-game interview, like he truly has a humility that is impressive. You know, he's totally bought into me, not we, you know, that type of phrase. And he's just, or excuse me, we, not me. And he's all in. He's all in on what Jonathan Smith is building. He's low ego, high output, the definition of it. And this weekend, he's going to go play his uncle in the offensive coordinator Bill at Cal. So I kind of like how, you know, you can have a couple Squeezy Riders talk about the stories, go down memory lane. What was it like as a kid? We'll be doing that on Friday in our coaches meeting with you.
I love it. I can't wait. Okay, dark mode at Rice Eccles, 8 p.m. local kick in Salt Lake City. And I guess you could say two salty teams who let those 2 touchdown leads on Saturday slip away. UCLA-Utah, what excites you about this one, Yogs?
Stakes. I mean, I'm glad I'm going to Cal, but if I could call 2 games in a day, this would be the second one that I'd want to go call. 1, to your point, the Muss is going to be rocking. 2, that student section and the entire fan base, frustrated is an understatement of how they felt after the Oregon State game. So they're going to be cranked up. I think this program, they know, and Kyle said it in his press conference earlier this week, it wasn't schematics where they struggled against Oregon State. They just got beat in the run game. Yeah. So they're going to go up against a team that did not perform up to the standard in the run game in UCLA. Zach Charbonnet gets held to, you know, obviously Pac-12 low for him in this running attack for the UCLA offensive front. Who rises up and meets this one? And Devin Lloyd not going to be there for the first half. So they'll game plan. They've got talented players that can play that spot. But with all the misdirections, all the movement that Chip Kelly's going to bring, if I was calling it, I'd be circling tackle to tackle defensively. Like, how do they handle the Britton Brown, Zach Charbonnet, everything that Chip's going to do? Hopefully Dorian is healthy. It sounds like he is, right? I think we'd anticipate him playing in this one. And then the loser's outside looking in the Pac-12 South. I mean, to me, I know nobody is mathematically eliminated, but I see it as a 3-team race in the South. And 2 of the teams are going to be playing on Saturday night.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it looked like reports were that DTR was practicing today, so you hope he's healthy. Ethan Garbers, I think people are really excited about him as well, but to make your first college start at 8 p.m. in Salt Lake City the night before Halloween with the Muss going absolutely nuts and all the things that you mentioned at stake, that's a tall task, no doubt about it, no matter how much talent you got. Utah, by the way, has won 4 in a row over UCLA, so we'll see if they can make it 5. Last one before we go. Asked you this a couple weeks ago, and I know it changes a lot. Who is the team right now in the Pac-12, Yogi, that you believe in most?
I believe in Oregon the most. I believe in Oregon the most. When you look at their injuries, and I kind of went like hardcore nerd out on what they've gone through this year. It's incredible when you think about the players, right? Obviously, Kayvon, you were there in the Fresno State game, didn't play in the Ohio State game. Justin Flo, Drew Mathis, two of their top defenders, they were out as well. You can go up and down the list of this game of this season, including Joe Moorhead. Like the dynamics that this team has had to deal with are unparalleled for a team who's remained in the top 10. We've seen teams get hit by the injury bug. Stanford a couple years ago. We've seen it in our time here in a decade at the Pac-12, Ash. But nobody has been able to maintain with the focus on them as the team. They're carrying the torch for the league. Back-to-back conference champions, expected to be a playoff team this year. And they've dealt with it. And I think it has hardened them. And when I saw Mario Cristobal on the field with all the cameras that were around capturing him talking to his fan base, saying, hey, come into Autzen and let's be what Autzen's about. I think the place is going to be crazy this weekend when Colorado goes there. Colorado, new offensive line coach. Yes, they welcome back Levante Chenault, but I think it's going to be a real challenge. And I think this is a team we're going to see them. I anticipate seeing them play their best football the rest of the way. I really do. It's just an innate feeling that I have. And that's why I believe in the most. But number 2 is Oregon State, though, to be really honest. Like, those are the 2 teams that have been Oregon State's been the most consistent team. Oregon has the most talent. And I think after the Bruin game, they got a chance to go on a run here.
Oregon State at Cal. Pregame coverage starts at 3:00 with the tailgate show, and then we'll be on at 3:30. I am excited to see your Halloween costume, my friend. I hope you got one.
I'm working on it.
If you don't, I'm bringing quite a few, and I don't think you want what I'm bringing.
There's only one thing you can't mess with in pregame. You know exactly what that is.
All right. Cheers. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the games, everybody.
Peace.